a roll lift. I think any press that's going to carry rolls 5,000 foot, 40-inch OD, 10-inch wide, basically needs a roll lift. There's many types of roll lifts. If your press don't come with one, there's roll-up roll lifts, a number of things. But this will help the operator keep him from hurting himself. It allows you to have any operator running the press. There are a lot of great women operators who might not can pick up heavy rolls. This is a great item for that. There's plenty of tricks you can do, ramps, roll the roll up on, but whatever you do, don't lift the rolls, you know, if they're heavy and put them on. Even small rolls, it's good just to get in a routine to throw the roll lift on. On this particular press, it's tied into the press itself. So this roll lift design here has a slide out tray. You roll the roll up on it, real simple. The roll, and this is about a 150-pound roll right here. As I line it up, I can roll the roll on, and it goes on. It slides off, real simple. This roll lift will not work unless I lower my right-hand roll clamp. As I cut this on, as you can see, no air goes to the gauge, okay? Many times my students will be like, it ain't working, it ain't working. Yes, it does work. What I have to do first is I have to lower my right-hand clamp, and this holds my stock in place. What I want to do is drop that down. Now, when I drop that down, that allows air to go to there. And as you can see, my gauge is on 60 pounds. It may have to go higher to lift a heavy roll. It can be done lower. These rolls here are pretty heavy, so we run between 60 and 80 pounds sometimes to lift up a roll. Simple operation of this web guide. You'll pull your one roll off. Here again, we're going to roll this up on there. Now all I have to do, engage my roll lift, roll it over. I like to push the roll up against there until the core's on it. Boom. Once it's on there, put it down. Oftentimes, I'll just push down on it so that it frees away from my roll so I don't have to wait for a long time for that to drop down. I want to always square my roll over, and it's pretty simply done. Once I've done that, then I can cut my core holder on, and this roll's secure in place, and I don't have to worry about it. The roll lift works real nice. Keep your feet out from under it. Make sure that you train on it, the proper use, and here again, even with a roll lift, wear a back belt. You know, you put some oomph into it to push that roll up on that ramp. Next thing here I want to call your attention to is an automatic cutoff sensor bar. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the way this is designed, when I lift up my right-hand clamp, this will automatically cut on. There's a screw in the back of the press, real easy to get to, and you set it. When this arm gets to a certain point, right now we have it set to about an 1/8 inch on that core, it automatically cuts the press off. You can set it for different core sizes, different stock sizes. Remember, at different speeds, you need different amount of run out. Check it. You know, it's easy to adjust from job to job. It's a very pressman-friendly operation. Generally, we adjust ours only when we're going from board to pressure sensitive because there will leave some footage on there on pressure sensitive if you set it for board. As you can see, when I lift this right clamp, that automatically goes up. Let it down and it goes down. Right here, this is our left clamp. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the proper procedure for splicing. Now, I'm going from a very narrow stock to a very wide stock. Many, many times people get in trouble with this because they don't take the steps in advance to prevent themselves from having problems. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the proper procedure for doing this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a couple of wraps of this stock off of my press. Little cuts, trash, things of this nature that get in and on your stock will cause problems. It's easier to pull it off. If you got to cut 1/4 inch deep, pull it all off. None of it's no good anyway. It's important that you don't try to make something work that's not going to work. You'll lose a lot of time fighting an endless battle. So I'm going to pull this off and get some clean stock. Now what I want to do is I'm going to pull this up through here. Many ways you can splice. I think the end result's what we look for. What I do here is I like the full tab, everything. You'll see I have what I call a tail hanging out there. I overlap it and I cut my diagonal cut at the same time all the way across. The reason I do this, I feel like I got a much better married product. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife, lock it in position. I like to hold, and I'll wipe my hand one time just to crease everything. Remember, I'm going from a very wide stock to a very narrow stock. It's important that I always use a sharp razor blade. If I don't, then I'm going to tear, rip, move, and I'm not going to get a good clean cut. But as you can see, my cut there is perfectly clean, and I'm going to have a good marriage. That's more important on this going from narrow to wide than any other time, because I got to pull this through the press without breaking. Real unique process here, because when you go from a narrow stock to a wide stock, there's some other things I'm going to have to show you that we need to do. Now what I want to do is I'm going to simply take my tape from the back. I'm going to pull it far enough out to where I lift this all the way up, and I just let it fall in position. I don't try to guide it, force it, or nothing of that nature. Now I'm going to take one finger, I'm going to touch my other side of the tape, I'm going to let it up, I'm going to pull this up, let it down, then I'm going to let that just kind of fall into position. Now my products are married perfectly across. Now I can take this here, I pull out enough to where I just overlap it. And I come back across and I get it real smooth. Here again, I'm going to take my knife out, lock it in position, and I'm just going to cut up to the edges. I'm going to cut up to the edge. Cut that clean. Lift my left tab here. Pull my tail out first. Lift that tab, now I'm ready to go. This is splicing going from a wide stock to a narrow stock. I'm changing substrates, whatever the case may be. We will also show you splicing products as it's running, because it's more important that you have exact splicing when you're running roll to roll, so that your product pulls through the press and your ladder and web don't break on you. But this is what we want to do now, just for changing from one side of the stock to the other. Now, probably the most important thing I'm going to do when changing stock sizes like this, first off, is I'm going to put my web guide on manual. This would be automatic, this is manual. When I put it on manual, I now, because I have a very narrow stock on there, I now need to see where my eyes are down here. Because what will happen is, if I pull this wide stock through and I don't adjust my eyes over and give myself enough room, what will happen is my stock here is going to hit them eyes and it's going to tear and snap on me. I see it happen all the time. I do it myself. You know, it's something you got to think about. So we want to bring cautious to it, and we want to know that it's happening. As I can see right now, my web guide was set on automatic, and it was set to this narrow stock. So I know that my plates are in the way. So you can see right here, you have a red light shining. You have 2 marks on each eyelet. Where them marks line up is where the edge of your stock's going to pull to. Right now, this is lined up to pull to right there. As I cut this on automatic, you'll see my dancer move back and forth with my stock. What I want to do, as I said before, I go to manual. Now then, if I pull my wide stock through, that right there is going to get hit. I'm in manual. Now I can adjust that far left out of the way. With the same idea on my right-hand side adjustment. We always run on one adjustment, and it's the left-hand side. It seems to be easiest. But here again, you know, this is a very simple process to do, very pressman friendly. So I got room in here. I can see everything that's going on. A couple other things you want to be aware of, though, as you're running any web guide, and it don't matter what press you're running on, is keeping it dust-free. Dust down in here gets on the eyes, and then it causes it to clog up, and you don't keep consistent web paths. This is probably the most common problem, with the exception of air being in the water lines And that sometimes will have a drastic effect on web guides too. But make sure you get the eyelet out of the way before you try to pull it through. Once I've made all my adjustments down there and I know that I'm clear out of the way, I want to make sure my web guide's straight, because if it's caught one way or the other, it's going to pull the web through. I can do that on manual right here. As you can see, I can move it either way. It moves back and forth, pretty simple. Want it to be square. Next couple of things I want to do is I want to check my panel here. Before I start pulling web through or anything, I need to work my press from left to right. So automatically, and trust me, I do this in my sleep religiously, just from years of running a press. I want to check my gauges. This press, we're running a pretty heavy, this is a piggyback stock I'm putting on here right now. This press right now, I probably should start out at about 35 pounds of pressure. Normally I run about 25, and this is my unwind pressure, but this is a very heavy stock. So I'll go up a little bit. It's almost like running a board, and often I get asked, what should I run my pressures at? I generally run all my pressures between 25, 30 pounds. If I go to a very thin, especially an unsupported film, I'll drop that down to about 10, 15 pounds. Many times I'll even drop it, below 10 if I'm running a real thin film. This press will hold registration like that. If I'm running a thicker board, 10-point card, 14-point card, I'll increase my pressure to about 35 to 45 pounds. The thicker the board, the more pressure. The thinner the stock, the less pressure. That's kind of what I work off of. Right now, my nip roll pressure here is at we'll bump it to about 25. That's a good consistency. I don't know that you need to go higher or less on that. When I run a thick board, sometimes I'll pump it up a little bit. When I run a thin film, sometimes I won't even run a in-feed nip roll. It seems to, as the film gets thinner, it seems to be more exact, and it might want to make it move from side to side. If you're having some trouble of that nature, the first thing to do, cut that off, and a lot of times it'll fix it. Don't know why, it's just one of the things we do. Then I have my automatic shut-off tension. And here again, I'm going to run it about 25, 30 pounds because of the heavy stock. Right here is my left clamp, right clamp. Showed you them earlier. This is my in-feed nip, up and down. This is my core holder, on and off for my unwind. This is my tension shut off, and this is my automatic roll shut off, which is tied in directly with this arm I showed you earlier. Consistently, I look at this. You know, many times I've thought myself that I was being sabotaged and somebody cutting that off, but it's very easy on this press, on any press, to accidentally hit that and run stock through your press. I look at it every roll by habit, and that's what you want to do, is get into the habit of doing these things. Next thing I want to go through on this press here, again, very easy to get to, very pressman friendly, is the emergency stops. They're all the way down the press. They're also at both ends.